Skyward greetings to all. This is Kert Kaczynski, as always, welcoming you to the third part of...
Hey, let me do it.
Okay. I guess that strongly fit within your priorities.
Welcome to the third edition of episode 4 of The One-Man Trekker, the epic conclusion of the 3-hour recording of rambling, stuttering, and unintentionally stretching things out. But now there's an end in sight.
Oh, come on, incidental narration man. We need to inject positive momentum into the show.
Part 3 of The One-Man Trekker. So awesome. It's more awesome than awesome itself.
Oh, that stinks. Let me do this right. The grand voyage of the illustrious U.S.S. Trekker continues its spaceward trek through the enchanted cosmos sturdily known to us as the Star Trek universe, and the tantalizing adventures that ensue right along with it.
You bet I'm tired. I'm tired of being responsible for 203 lives. I'm tired of deciding which mission is too risky and which isn't, and who's going on the landing party and who doesn't, and who lives and who dies.
Are the transporters beaming up yet?
Not 100%, Captain.
Oh, no, I know Hamlet. And what he might say with irony, I say with conviction. What a piece of work is man.
Have I ever mentioned you play a very irritating game of chess, Mr. Spock?
Irritating. Ah, yes. One of your Earth emotions.
Remind me to tell you that I'm sick and tired of your logic.
That is a most illogical attitude.
Starfleet was founded to seek out new life. Well, there it sits.
No bloody A, B, C, or D.
What am I, a doctor or a moon shuttle conductor?
You know,
All right, folks, the final installment of the One-Man Trekker's 4th episode will now be engaged, leaving right off where we left 24 of them ago. Pick it.
So back up on the bridge, Data, Worf, and Geordi reappear, and Tush asks where Riker is, and so Geordi recaps what all happened, and as they're describing the vicious animal things, there's a goofy moment with Data.
We were under attack by these animal things.
Animal things?
Well, maybe Data could explain it better, sir.
You may find it aesthetically displeasing, sir. I could just file a computer report on that.
Data.
Well, I thought that was kind of pretty cheesy Data fun there. Season 1 cheesy Data. So anyway, Picard explains that Q has an interest in Riker, and so in the meantime, you know, they're not gonna while the clock is now running, they're gonna go ahead and proceed to their rescue mission, as was previously planned before Q got in everybody's way.
In fact, Q's entire visit has something to do with our first officer.
And the reason for that, sir?
I wish I knew. Q first became interested in him at Farpoint. I have no idea what it means. Meanwhile, we must proceed with our rescue mission.
Alright, so we're down on the planet, back again, and as we cut to this shot, just a pure, awesome Jonathan Frakes moment. I'm sorry, it's just hilarious. And what's going on is Riker is laughing, and just down in pure glee. And, you know, just such a human reaction after becoming, you know, having godlike powers, or even being a god, you know, by human standards. Q asks, man, I'm such a huge Jonathan Frakes fan. But anyway, John Delancey, you know, also a big fan of him as well. Q asks Riker why he's laughing, and Riker is not entertaining his powers at this point, and Riker actually says that he's laughing at Q. So you're like, when we open with Riker laughing hilariously, we're like, is Riker laughing because he's liking having powers? Is he sort of developing that smugness, or is it just that, you know, or is he just laughing at the situation, and it's that he's just laughing, and it's sort of both, actually. It's just such an awesome reaction to have, a very natural one. Awesome.
Something amuses you. Perhaps you'll share the joke with me.
The joke is you.
Strange gratitude from one who has been granted a gift beyond any human dream.
Oh man, and I so love it how Q calls humans fragile non-entities. And that's such a good way to put it. You look at the vulnerability of our physical bodies, in the world around us, like falling down the stairs, or like if gravity were reversed and we fell on the side of a building, we just splatter. Just our own buildings have the ability to kill us. And we're so fragile because we're entrapped inside our own physical bodies, our physical limits. And I love it how Q calls us that, fragile non-entities. Because, we all have a soul, right? That thing, that consciousness, whatever it is. And Q has the ability to escape the physical bounds of that, whereas we do not. Sometimes the soul maybe would like to escape it, but we don't have that ability.
What do you need, Q?
Need?
You want something from us. Desperately. What is it?
Want something from you foolish, fragile non-entities? Oh, come, Riker. You're beginning to sound like your captain.
Now that's a compliment, Q. But that's not an answer.
Before that, Riker inquires to Q what he desperately wants from them. And Riker, I thought it was a nice little moment how he complimented Picard as he was cutting through Q's bowl.
How can you not appreciate being able to send your friends back to their ship? Or send the soldiers back to the nothingness from which they came?
And then Q, talking to Riker starts talking to Riker about the true nature of the universe.
After Farpoint, I return to where we exist, the Q continuum.
Which means exactly what?
The limitless dimensions of the galaxy in which we exist.
I don't understand.
Of course you don't. And you never will. Until you become one of us.
Until? Would you mind going over that again?
Well, if you'd stop interrupting me. I mean, this is hardly a time to be teaching you the true nature of the universe.
Oh, so great. And I want to talk about this here as Q uses plural when talking about his actions, or the Qs at Farpoint. And here's the question. I consider to favor the idea that Q is a single entity. He is not multiple entities. And when you talk about the Q continuum, and when he talks about how, speaks of we Q have decided, all that sort of thing, is it just him, Q, as he consorts with other Q, or are they all a part of a same consciousness? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, does it? When you talk about the Q continuum, is the Q continuum like a collective of some sort, like the Borg? How there are individuals, but they're all connected as one thing, right? Is it like that with the Q, but in an even more so of a way than the Borg? And when I talk about that with the Borg, I just mean like what's going on inside their heads, because they all think the same thing, and at the same time they all have the same thought patterns. And so I'm wondering if that's the Q, that they're all like, well, let's look at the whole idea of, to get biblical here, the Trinity. You got the God, and then you got the Holy Spirit, then you got the Jesus, and, they're all like the same thing, right? They're all considered the God, but they're all the same entity, but they're all separate things. So I'm just a little confused when Q talks about multiple, when he speaks of Q in the plural. And I prefer to think of John Delancey. He's a single Q, and he's doing his own thing, and he's not, you know what I'm saying. But I do think that, Q talks with other Q, but we don't really see that. We only saw one other Q. You remember that one episode that comes in season 4, I guess, where we saw that other Q, and it's definitely an interesting question. But I'm just going to sort of leave that open for now. What do you think? What do you think about the Q? You got to email me, darn it. onemantrekker@gmail.com. Send some emails, will ya? So for the whole episode, for the whole time that we've known Q, he was just sort of talk. There was never really any substance to Q, as far as how he was coming across and his dealings with everybody. And the only reason he had such a stronghold over the crew with his superfluous fodder was simply his powers, right? That's exactly what that was. If Q was like that and didn't have powers, they'd lock him away and he'd, be off somewhere in an insane asylum. But anyway, Q, finally breaks down and actually shares something of substance with Riker, his real thoughts and motives. And that's when they begin talking about the human compulsion. And this is awesome.
At Farpoint, we saw U.S.S.